Photography teaches you a lot, and it also unteaches you a lot, and it's very good for you, and it will change your life. Not because you'll get likes on Instagram though. Not these days anyway. Mostly, it'll make you physically healthier, mentally healthier, wealthier, more fun to be around, and, happier. That sounds like a lot, and sure, I'm a little bit biased, but it's also true. And all of that happened to me before I ever started this YouTube channel. Let me explain how this works, why it works, and why it's got anything at all to do with a clogged sink. Let's start with the really basic, obvious stuff. If you want to take photos, you're probably going to have to leave the house. I don't really like the whole 10,000 steps a day thing, mostly just because it feels a bit icky to turn what should be a fundamental part of being human into a numerical goal. But what I will say is that the periods of my life where I haven't pretty regularly been going on photo walks are the periods of my life that I have been the fattest and the saddest. It's also good for your mental health, and based on the average YouTube Shorts comments section, the people need all the help they can get. Getting outside and getting some sunlight, fresh air can be, moving is good, and that's hard to argue with. Unlike the rest of this video, which is going to sound progressively more unhinged. Taking good photos is tricky, like quite a lot more tricky than it looks, and so one of the first things that photography teaches you is how to suck at something. You'll spend a few years learning, and then you'll also learn that you can get good at something that you used to suck at. All of a sudden, once you've done that once or twice, anytime you run into a challenge, it feels so much easier to overcome since you've already faced other challenges and overcome those ones. Just like the martial arts, the visual arts also teach you discipline. Going out to take photos, even though the last time you did, they all sucked, a bird pooped on you, and your feet hurt afterwards. The funniest part is that even once you are great at photography, most people still kind of won't really care. We'll get to that, but first, I used to be the world's best giver-upper. Anytime something was even a tiny bit tricky, done. Not interested. I'll give anything a go, so long as I'm great at it immediately. So take it from me when I say the absolute best and easiest way to learn how not to be a giver-upper is photography. Or at least it was for me. Also, the absolute best and easiest way to create and publish websites is today's video sponsor, Framer. Framer is so intuitive that it feels like it connects directly into my brain, like how a sword is supposed to feel like an extension of your arm. I've used it to make zonefocused.com, which is a new portfolio I'm working on, and I've used a really minimal design so that nothing distracts from the photos. But you don't have to go minimal if you don't want. Some people use Framer to power their blog. Some people run their whole business out of Framer. It's a really powerful tool. For Zone Focused, I wanted the site to feel a little bit like the digital version of an art gallery. So the homepage is just all about the different areas that I've been shooting, and then each page is just the photos. This was really easy to do using Framer's built-in sections. I just tried a few of the galleries and picked the one that smelt the best, and all the boring mandatory stuff like a header and a footer is only a few extra clicks. Speaking of, I've actually been using Framer just as a big design canvas. I have loads of projects in here that are just brain dumps, and I also like to use it for making mood boards for shoots that I'm planning. Here's the fun part. It's one of those things that just works. Framer sites are all so unique and so artistically created, but they also work perfectly on mobile, and they load really fast, and they're super easy to update when you take more photos. There's really no excuses left. Your photos need a home on the internet, and I don't mean a Google Drive folder. Sign up for free using the link in the video description, and make sure you use the code HUNTERCREATES for an upgrade on the house. Big thank you to Framer and to you for your continued support. Spend more than about 5 seconds scrolling social media these days, and you'll quite quickly realize that the world is an awful, horrible place full of evil people, and we're all going to die and that everything is f***ed. But you know what? If you scroll your ass over to your camera and pick it up and go outside and take some photos, explore, and talk to people, you'll also quite quickly realize that actually there's so much good and joy and beauty and fun in the world too. And that can definitely help to provide some balance to the eternal hellfire that is the front page of Reddit. Photography will change your life by making you less miserable, less chronically online, and less susceptible to propaganda. Basically, touch grass at least every now and then. But aside from your physical health and your mental health and your social health, photography will change your brain and your personality in ways that are impossibly beneficial, and not like a bro photographer starter pack. Hear me out. First of all, the process of getting better at photography forces you to learn what you like. Or more like, it forces you to be really aware of how things make you feel and why. Most people have no idea what they like and don't like, which sounds bonkers, but it's true, especially when it comes to art. Even worse, almost nobody knows what they actually want to get out of life, and the only way that you can figure that out is by knowing what you like and don't like. Once you've done that, then you can figure out where to aim, but until then, you're pretty much just letting whatever is popular drive you around with a remote control. Basically, photography develops your personal taste. This takes time, and you will keep changing your taste over time forever, but being able to look at something and decide whether you like it or not without checking what everyone else's opinion is or what the average rating is first is a really important part of being a good artist. Also, here's a hammer, unrelated to the sink, we'll get to that. There was a German dude a while back called Heidegger, and he wasn't a very nice person, but he was still kind of clever. He came up with the foundation for thing theory, which sounds kind of scary and boring, but I promise it's not. I'm not a philosopher, I just take pictures. Essentially, the idea is that your brain has a sort of autocomplete for figuring out what stuff is. Your brain sees this, it just goes, hammer! That's a thing. But if you're presented with a hammer that doesn't work, or a hammer that looks wrong, or you look really hard at the hammer, it turns from a thing into an object. Stay with me. Basically, you've bypassed your brain's autocomplete that says hammer, and now you're looking at the details, like how a toddler will stare at flowers on the side of the road while you're just walking past thinking about lunch, having tuned the flowers out to the point where you barely even notice them. If you get good at photography, your camera basically turns into a disable autocomplete device. When you look through the viewfinder, you don't just see people walking around outside, you see each individual as their own person. You notice small details that you would have otherwise completely missed. Little carvings and buildings, people with funky shoelaces, birds that look suspiciously like they're charging. Photographer and brilliant glasses wearer Stephen Shaw calls this learning to see.
As an exercise, is various moments during a day, at random moments, I would become aware of my field of vision. To put it in modern terms, it would be like taking a screenshot of my field of vision. And I did this so I could see what it was like to see, what the experience of seeing looked like. And I used that as a guide in how I made my pictures.
That sounds quite pretentious until you try it, and then your mind gets blown like a 100,000-mile 4L60E. If you're still not convinced about that one, how about something a little bit more concrete? Taking nice photos is one of the most real, personal ways that you can make the world a more beautiful place. Like, by a teeny tiny fraction of a percentage, but still. It's also nice that your photo taking impact on the world is personal. It's not just that it makes the world more beautiful if you take nice photos for the internet, but if you take nice pictures for your friends and family, you can make a massive difference to their lives specifically. Recently, I was helping a friend, not with the sink, be patient, with some photos of old clothes that she was selling online. I could have used my phone and the window, but I decided to set up my paper roll on a flash. Yes, this is super extra and over the top, and we even joked about it at the time, but actually I think it was a great idea. Sure, it'll probably sell the shoes faster, and anyone who searched for funky Vans on Vinted that week would probably have a tiny bit more aesthetic in their life, like a drop of food dye into Lake Tahoe tiny. But more importantly, the way that you do one thing is the way that you do everything. Actually putting in some work and a bit of effort to do something well, even if it's really simple and not even art per se, is 100,000% worth the satisfaction that you'll get out of it. Okay, let's talk about the sink. Next time your sink gets clogged, you could call a plumber, or you could go and watch like 2 YouTube videos and go and buy a bucket and maybe some PTFE tape and fix it yourself. Sure, it'll take you longer than it would take the plumber, and you might get stuck figuring something out and have to go on a mental health walk halfway through, and you might even get covered in toxic sink goo, and you might even break it more. But you know what? When that sink goes back together perfectly and it doesn't leak and it drains great, and you made that happen with your own hands, that is one of the best feelings in the entire world. Plus, now you can fix a sink. Apply that logic to as many areas of your life as possible. Cough, AI, learning to develop your taste, learning how to see, and adding value as much as possible will like actually change your life proper honest, mate. Not in a self-help guru kind of way, but in an I no longer personally relate to Kurt Cobain kind of way. Plus, yeah, you'll get your 10,000 steps in. And sure, if you live somewhere really boring, it's a bit more difficult. Oh, wait, hold on. No, it's not, because you can watch this video next, where I'll give you all of my secrets to taking banger photos in boring places. Stay hydrated and create art.